G'day again. What the? Rightio. Let's have a look at the famous Unfinished Obelisk and the Aswan Quarry. How did they do it?
On the follow the red arrow, you can see there's a dolerite dike or a seam of dolerite right there in Aswan. Like, where did how did they transport these dolerite balls from so far away? No, they didn't. It's not even a stone's throw away. It is literally right there where this source of material come from. Now, again, you'll probably hear, well, dolerite is lower on Mohs scale than granite. It doesn't work. We'll come to that in a moment, because Mohs scale's got nothing to do with this. Dolerite is a stronger stone than granite. Dolerite will work granite. Bang it against it. No different from a steel pounding stone.
55-0-20.
Ага. 20 граммов будет, да, после потери.
Hey guys, look, it's a perfect weight, 55 kilos after cutting and cleaning off the dirt. Cool. Too perfect for an angle grinder. A magic number. Test weighing now. Here we have one granite hammer. We got it by chipping away the original rock. Its total weight is 2 kilograms, 176 grams. Now these dolerite hammers, we've got a few of them. 1 kilogram, 392 grams. This one is 2 kilograms, 465 grams. The third one weighs 2 kilograms, 554 grams. The fourth is 4 kilograms and 65 grams. Look, a piece of dolerite came off. While everyone's away hunting antelopes and mammoths, someone is hammering a stone. A perfect hobby. Look at this dust. Finely dispersed, good quality. Ancient Egyptian concrete was surely made of this dust. And all the pyramids too. Yeah, this dust was made manually first. Exactly, the pyramids were drilled out of giant rocks. 1 hour has passed. It's time to weigh our pyramid and to find out how much granite came off. We'll check the weight of the dolerite tools too. So that's our dolerite hammer number 2. And if I got it right, its weight was 2 kilograms, 456 grams. Now it's 2 kilograms, 216 grams. If my calculation is accurate, the total depletion is 239 grams. In theory, granite tools are supposed to be less effective than dolerite tools. Let's validate this theory. This granite rock we're working is coarse-grained, not like the hammer, which is small-grained. It's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be like this. Most researchers say that the ancient Egyptians used small-grained granite pieces for tools. Coarse-grained rocks were used as working surface. Guys, the granite tool broke just as I started working it, so we won't use it anymore. Well, it was obvious that working granite surface with granite would quickly wear out the hammer. We'll be using this dolerite hammer. The weight of the tool is close to those the Egyptians used in mines to process large amounts of rock. You can even hear that the sound is different. This tool seems to be more effective. So, we have 53 kilograms and 56 grams. Previously, we had 54 kilograms and 42 grams. 840 grams off, right? So, this dolerite piece weighs 3 kilos, 834 grams. The experiment shows that a dolerite tool gives a better result. It's heavy, but it's more comfortable to work with, as a heavy tool bounces off more easily from granite surface. Working this rock was intense, but definitely not beyond our abilities. We've done the math, and the speed of processing is 311 cubic centimeters per hour. Working at this speed, a group of 150 workers would have cut out the famous Aswan obelisk in a little over 2 years.
Now we zoom in on that picture and you can see the dike. Well, there's an added advantage of having this natural crack, this fissure, this separation in between the granite, because now I can split and break away the granite much easier. For that top half of that stone, it's already done for me. Nature has done it, so I can get that big block and take it away in no time at all. Nature has provided the crack to do it, so you don't have to spend a lot of time whether using the plug and feather method and wooden wedges. Copper wedges work just as great. I've done experiments on that. Don't let anyone ever tell you that copper wedges don't work. Christopher Dunn, I don't know how he failed to do it. I did it with a tiny copper shims and bits of wood. He couldn't do it with his copper tool. I don't know how he failed. I had no problem doing it whatsoever. But we zoom in on that area, and again you can see where the natural workings are. The quarrymen have taken advantage of this and used that dike, that seam, that crack, which is already provided by nature, to remove and work the stone. Don't work hard, work smart, and that's what they did. These are used stones. Now, from my own experiments, again, I don't have access to, I live in sandstone country, so I don't have access. But here are 2 pounding stones that I used. These are of black flint, but the one on the left, which is already a rounded natural pebble, I used that, and it works fine. It's steel or iron is not some magical item that just like chews through granite. But what I found is that the one on the right, which had it fractured, And I noticed that this one works much more efficiently. Firstly, the sharp edges of there helps with the process, but also the flakes, the little granules that broke off, acted like little chisels. So when I was pounding in, they were also working in. So I would just say that the reason why all those dolerite balls were found is because they are used tools. You would take the rougher natural form of it, which is not nicely rounded, and you would use those until it becomes rounded and then discard it and get a better one, which has firstly all those cracks and all the sharp edges, and that does work better. That's from my own experience. Again, I haven't pounded away heaps, but the experiments I've done, I've shown in the past, well, that one works great. And the cracked stone with the sharp edges and corners, and all the little flakes come off, act like tiny little chisels. That works noticeably better than the dolerite ball. So again, you see the experiments with dolerite balls by the Lost Ancient High Technology. Basically, they go to the quarry there, they pound on the stone for 30 seconds, and then shrug. I can't. 30 seconds, and I haven't shaped my. God! The Egyptians must have done it in 2 minutes, because I'm here for 30 seconds. All of a sudden, I lose coordination, and I'm just like banging. It's like I've got no coordination at all, and I'm sort of banging, and it's after 30 seconds, I'm tired. Well, fiddlesticks to them, But those experiments are not. It's infomercial levels of bad acting. Dolerite balls, pounders were used much later on, even up to the Middle Kingdom, up to the Roman time, when it was well into the Iron Age. So they had other tools available, but they still use those. Why? Because they're cheap. They're there, they're plentiful, it's right there for you to use. Alright, but now we're going to focus in on that area right up there, right next to the Unfinished Obelisk, and you can see along the ground line there that there are those scoop marks. Now what's happened is that they've marked down as the work progresses, and again, those scoop marks, every second scoop mark ties in with one of those marks, which is also like a convenient area for each worker to be assigned. You can see that those vertical lines match up with the scoop marks. There we see that they've just highlighted the tracing of those lines, and also the progress marks as they move down. Etched in stone, these marks track the progress of the work, something that a foreman would be very interested in using, to know if his workers are keeping up to schedule. Maybe someone's dragging their feet. So if, again, whether you're working with steel or with these older stones, progress is slow on granite. So if the foreman goes away for a few hours or a day and then comes back, well, he wants to be able to know where the work, that their work is being kept up to the expected rate. And the black lines there, basically tracing out the scoop marks. You can see how every second of the black area coincides with the red lines there. So there you can see the scoop marks, even again neatly. The used tools that are found on the site correspond beautifully to the size of this type of work. And again, I've just traced out those lines now because the resolution from the screenshot doesn't quite grab it. So here's another photo. We can see the Unfinished Obelisk. I'm just highlighting that area there just to give you a better idea, because the play of light and shadow just highlights those vertical lines and the workings there. 2 lines is a scoop. Sorry, 1 line is 2 scoops. So again, the work itself, the tools ties in, and the markings in there. All right. So now we have, again, now we can see these horizontal scoop marks. There we get another view of them. That's the Unfinished Obelisk at the tippy, sharp point of it. This is the quartzite quarry on the west bank of the Nile, very close to Aswan. Quartzite makes lovely statues. Again, we see the same type of work marks, tooling marks that are there. And Unfinished Obelisk, you see the trench along the side. Now again, note that the scoop marks there on the ground correspond to the those on the wall, on the cliff face. Get a better view of it there. So what's happening is that these vertical marks are from the scoop marks as they descend into the stone. Once you see it and get used to it, it's quite obvious. Okay, this is Mons Claudianus granite quarry. Not exact. Is it? It's a very special type of granite, just like nearby Mons Porphyry quarry. This is a Roman era quarry in Egypt. Now what we see is the marks of Iron Age tools. And this is a typical quarry mark that you'll see in limestone, but basically any quarry up until the modern era where handwork was still being done. These are the common type of tools you would see. So we see Iron Age tooling marks, and there in the Unfinished Obelisk we see Stone Age tooling marks. No one, except for maybe, I don't know, it's hard to keep up, depends on what show he's on. If he's on Ancient Aliens, he's extraterrestrial. If he's on his own channel, he's Lost Ancient Civilization. But Brian Foster, I think even he admits that dynastic Egyptians, pre-Iron Age Egyptians, were quarrying granite. They might dispute the precision, but here at the Aswan quarry, there's no one's going to argue that there is this precision there in the Unfinished Obelisk. If you see precision there, you need help. All right, it's quite rough. Now, notice that both of them take advantage of natural cracks in the stone. Of course you do. Everyone does, because if you don't, you're going to have blocks with cracks in them. But it's not too different style. Now, dolerite pounders, that's exactly the type of mark you're going to make. Those are the tools that are found. We know even from images of Romans, they were using picks, chisels. That's a type of mark you're going to get. And again, you still see it up until the modern era. In some places, you'll still find it where they're still using that technique. Back there now. Top left corner, Kachikata, I think it's pronounced, but there's another. So it's not just in Egypt. Those are scoop marks there as well. And where is that? Well, that's the quarry where the stones from Ollantaytambo come from. So this is not just an Egyptian technique. It can be found elsewhere. Where's that site with the H blocks now? The name Pumapunka. Yeah, the same you can find in the quarry partially worked stones that have these tool marks in there as well. Anyway, now the question remains: trenching down, but how do you do these undercuts? The Unfinished Obelisk is not undercut. This is another part there. But how would you get those? I've heard. Let's not. Okay, so how would you do this? Well, I would say it's the same basic technique, but now there's a classic example, and so doing it like that, really, really hard work, like excruciatingly slow and long and exhausting, if it was done like that. But this would be the hardest job. This would be a terrible job to do if it was done like that. Now notice even that there's a natural crack running there as well, but that's not important for the moment. But again, when you see these quarry, start looking for the cracks and the seams, and you'll realise that that's smart people working in a quarry a long time. They would have generations of experience, and they would take every advantage that they can get because they're experienced, they're professionals. Now, Frank B. Gilbreth, he was a fella he was basically one of those early time and motion studies guys. There's one of the quotes by him: "There is no waste in this world that equals the waste from needless, ill-directed and ineffective motions." That picture there should be in the dictionary for needless, ill-directed and ineffective motions. Frank Gilbreth, he was studying bricklayers, and what he noticed was that the most productive expert bricklayers were actually not the best in that sense, because they did a lot of unneeded So the slightly less, still very productive, but a little bit less productive bricklayers, they had an efficiency of movement. They moved as little as possible. And so at the end of the day, they had less fatigue, less injuries, and they had a longer work life because their back was not ruined by being overly efficient. And so in the long run, a little bit of inefficiency is better, especially if you're paying and feeding these workers as well. We're going to go for a lot more calories doing something like that. All right, but another quote by him, it's often attributed to Bill Gates, but it was from Frank Gilbreth. I will always choose a lazy man to do a hard job because a lazy man will find an easy way to do it. And that's, I think, precisely what's going on here. We need to find a lazy man. I'm very experienced. That's one of my greatest talents, mate. I will find an easy way to do a job. That's why my bosses loved me. They thought I was devoted to the company. No, I just didn't want to waste time and energy doing something slow. And so, laziness can be a great benefit in productivity. Now, so here's a question. You want the laziest man? Instead of WWJD, WWOD. What would Onslow do? All right. Onslow would volunteer for this job because he would work. This is not the hardest job. This is the best job. The worst one is the guy who's cutting down the trench. You want this job. Why? Sticks and strings. Run some sticks along the top, get some palm fronds or shade cloth or anything, and you work in the shade all day long. Number one. All right, Onslow, smart fella. All right. Now let's imagine that trench hasn't been cut out yet. So now he's at the beginning and he wants to start to do the undercut. Well, how would you do that? Sticks and strings. Firstly, he wouldn't use a rounded pounding stone. He would use a sharp, fresh one, just like you would use a sharp pick instead of a round hammer. So, sharp tool, and why hold that thing and support that weight all day long? Firstly, it's going to be exhausting, but also it's not good for your joints and your wrists, and especially at that angle, and you're squatting down all day, your knees are going to be ruined, back's going to be, shoulders, everything. This guy's going to be destroyed by the end of the year. He'll be useless. He'll be basically a cripple after a few years with arthritis and all the other issues. So you get a string and you hang the sharp stone from the string and you swing that sucker like a pendulum. You make gravity your friend instead of your enemy. What would Onslow do? What would the lazy fella do? He's going to reduce the work. He doesn't have to hold it. He can sit there all day long, basically like pushing a button, almost just with your fingertip. You could just swing this thing all day long and not get exhausted and be at a higher productivity rate than what the guy is there in the picture. And why squat when you can sit? Okay, I get the lazy fella to do. I should be hired for this type of stuff. I see a lot of this, and it's just like, oh shit, what are they thinking? Anyway, that's what I would do. All right, now, okay, but how do you get in here? So, okay, that works well when you're sort of at the start. But how do you get deep inside there? Grand. Lord of the Rings fan here. Battering ram. Exactly the same principle. I would make a grand. Stick, strings, and pounding stone on either side. Basically, one's a counterweight, and the other one's going to be the working, and then you can just flip them over when it gets worn out. All right. 2 strings. Hang it from the top there. I'm just going to swing it like a pendulum again. Now, because of those different angles, well, all you got to do is loosen and adjust the ropes, and it's going to change the angle of swing so you can affect and strike on different areas. Right, now, but how do you get into the deeper point? Because now you have that overhang. Well, at the end, I would just make a bigger counterweight to stop it flipping over. Use 2 strings to basically create a triangle and to keep it stabilised, and this would come in as a handy pivot point. So I would just be adjusting the ropes back and forth depending on what I want to do, and I'll be getting in there. Put a longer stick. so it gets in deeper. So even with a broom pole, because you only need 6 inches or a foot to get behind and to get that swinging action going, and that's what I would do. And sticks and strings, I'll be working in the shade all day. I won't be holding it. I'll just be looking for every advantage that I can get. But most importantly, I'm sitting down in the shade. That's the job. I would volunteer for this job after I thought about it for a while. All right, now, so if there's a hard job to do, best bet, avoid it. Don't do anything that's hard that you don't have to do. But if you can avoid it, find an easy way of doing it, preferably where you can sit on your ass all day long in the shade, drinking beer and smoking cigarettes. That's what I would do. All right, now.
So there you go. What do you reckon? Please let me know in the comments below. And also hit up Alan at SGD and Scientists Against Myths. Links in the description below. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to help us out. Cheers and catch you later.